This is Neutral Ice.
Here comes the opportunity.
Oh!
Just goes outside of the net.
Wow!
More working around.
Goal!
Canada!
Iris! No, Cody Eakin, I'm sorry.
Buffalo's best hockey show every Monday night.
Oh, Cody Egan leaves it off to Tyler Ennis.
Oh.
Tyler!
Oh, yeah!
Tyler Ennis!
Wrap around!
Woo!
Oh!
Hits outside of the net.
Absolutely.
Oh!
Hey! Crosby!
Sidney Crosby! Goal, Canada! He's not going to sign for this.
Giroux!
Canada!
Oh! Nice pass! Goal!
Canada!
What a goal!
Seguin!
What a play!
Tyler Seguin!
Oh! What a save by Bobrovsky!
Woo! On Seguin!
Oh, post by Tyler Toffoli! Oh, what a play!
Goal! Claude Giroux! Here comes Canada once again.
Oh, goal! McKinnon!
Now, here are your hosts, Nick Lippa and Jack Sullivan.
And that's it! Canada wins the goal!
6-1!
Guys, I think we all need to calm down a little bit.
On Buffalo's original alternative, 91.3 FM, WBNY.
91.3 FM WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative since 1982. You're listening to Neutral Ice, Joe DiBiase, Brayton Wilson, Frank Arcuri, Derek Kramer, Jordan Hanskin, and Lou DiBiase, all in studio. Boys, how have we liked the Stanley Cup Finals so far?
Hockey's fun.
It's been fun.
Very fun.
exciting.
And we're getting set here as Game 3 is about to get underway from Chicago. First two games in Tampa Bay. Series swings back to the Madhouse in Chicago. Chicago now has home ice advantage for the rest of the playoffs. Anyone want to change their picks from last week? I know I do not.
No! God, please, no!
Derek, I'm looking at you.
I'll stay.
So no one's changing their picks.
I didn't even have a pick last week.
Brayton, what would your pick be?
I mean, I'm sticking with my preseason prediction, Chicago,
Ooh.
because I was looking back because I've had three different playoff predictions, one from the preseason, one from the midseason, one from just before the playoffs started. My preseason was Chicago and Tampa Bay, and I had Chicago winning in 6, so I'm not changing that anyways.
Well, look at
so.
you. It's gonna get.
I honestly, with the way that these playoffs have been so far, I could care less on who wins.
Yeah, I'm honestly the way I'm looking at it. I'm rooting for Tampa basically because I picked them before the season started. But if I didn't have that,
Same here.
yeah, it would be hard for me to pick a winner because Chicago is on the verge of being that dynasty we just haven't seen in the NHL since like the Canadians really.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. They're probably the next best dynasty, probably since the what was the last team that really was a dynasty for years in the NHL?
Edmonton, the 80s.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, 90s was kind of all over the place. I mean, maybe Chris would defend the Devils a little bit in
I was
this
just thinking
regard.
the Devils got a couple there in the early 2000s.
Yeah, but that's not true. One of them was a lockout shortened year, so we'll put an asterisk on that. Not really. Yeah, I mean, maybe the Devils, but other than that, you're looking in the 80s, you probably had 2 in the Islanders and the Oilers. But really, since then, you haven't had one. In Chicago, now, they would make it 3 and 5 years, where the other 2 years, really, they were only stopped by L.A., who, honestly, they could be a dynasty of their own if Chicago wasn't in the same conference.
I just wish the Kings would have made the Cup final, or not the Cup finals this year, the playoffs this year. Would have been nice.
Instead of Calgary or Vancouver, who we knew from the get-go were not going to compete for the Stanley Cup Finals.
No.
I mean, those two, when they played, it was a very entertaining series.
You would have thought Vancouver would have put up a better fight against Calgary. But
yeah, you really did. But I mean, the series was entertaining. But you knew from the get-go these teams weren't serious contenders for the Stanley Cup. Any big things to take away from Game 1 and 2 starting Studio B?
Tampa just got to reduce the mistakes. That's pretty much what cost them Game 1.
Chicago basically losing 5 of 6 periods and still stealing a game is pretty big.
How do we all feel about Tampa, especially in Game 1, kind of going back into that prevent mode where they're known for a team that's just all-out speed and offense?
I hated that, and we brought that up on the Blitz earlier, and that was something that I couldn't I couldn't stand. That was something that they should not have done, and they deserve to lose if they're going to play like that.
That strategy might have cost them a 2-0 lead going into Chicago.
Yeah, you could definitely say that. And real quick, as the rosters are coming in for Game 3,
Drouin's out.
Drouin is out.
Nestorov's in.
Nestorov's in.
Bishop
and then,
starts.
Yep, and for Chicago, James Van Riemsdyk's brother, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, is in the lineup for Chicago, and so is Brian Bickle, who's been a healthy scratch as of late. David Rundblad and Christopher Stieg will be your healthy scratches. Bickle will immediately go on to the second line. He's going to be playing with Patrick Kane and Brad Richards.
Bickle had vertigo.
Yeah.
That's and how long was he out for? I haven't been
He's out for a while.
He hasn't played since, I believe,
the first round, right?
I think he played the first couple games of the second round, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be wrong.
Okay.
But he hasn't played since early in the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, because the last case of vertigo I remember was Jonas Hiller, and Jonas Hiller missed basically half the year with vertigo when he was playing in Anaheim.
Yeah, and he came back and played pretty well, so maybe it won't have a huge effect on Bickle's game, but if they can get a big contribution from him on that second line, that would be a big plus because they've really had a little bit of trouble with secondary scoring as of late. Anyone in Studio B think Bickle could really make a big contribution to the series, or do we think he's just going to kind of come in and do what Versteeg's done?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm feeling with it. I just don't know, especially because Bickle hasn't played in a while. Plus, we know the style of game he plays. We don't know how healthy he is. I mean, he could still have some trouble. He's just, good enough to play.
I still think the keys remains the same. It's going to be the Blackhawks top 4D versus the speed of Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and at this point, Chicago's top 4D has actually looked pretty good with Seabrook. Keith has been all over the place. And then Jarlimson's played well in Oduya. Kimo Timonen, I don't believe, has played yet in the series.
He has not.
Kaminsky has played on their third pairing. A lot of times what I've actually seen from Chicago is they have not kept their third pairing defenseman together. What they'll do is they'll double shift Seabrook or Keith with that other guy, and that'll limit the ice time of the third pairing. So really, you can see Chicago knows coming into the game that they have to game plan for Tampa Bay's speed, whereas against Anaheim, it was completely different. As this Game 3 gets underway, anyone think Tampa Bay is going to win this game, even though it's in Chicago?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I think Tampa Bay is going to win the series, but I feel like home ice advantage here. Chicago's going to pull this one out.
Chicago's one of the best playoff teams. I can't remember what the stat was, but I mean they're one of the best playoff teams in recent memory. I think since the first lockout of 2004, 2005, since 2006, they have. No, it was 2011. It was 2011. Yep. Since that playoffs, the Chicago Blackhawks have been the best home team in the playoffs.
Yeah,
bar none.
But I think even though we just found out Bishop's going to start, I think he's going to have a fantastic game, and he is because he has been fantastic on the road.
He's going to have another 2-0 shutout, which would probably be his 17th 2-0 shutout of the playoffs.
Yeah, and he just knows how to get it done on the road. I believe the Bishop's going to come out today. I'm not saying he's going to have a shutout, but I'm saying he's going to have a fantastic game. I think Tampa's going to pull it out.
Tampa has also been outplaying Chicago for most of this young series. So I think that continues tonight, and they managed to find a way to steal one in Chicago. If not tonight, at least they'll do it in Game 4 because Cooper knows how to get his boys to respond. Yeah. But I think they get it tonight.
Chicago can't afford Crawford to struggle in another game in a row. Normally this playoffs he hasn't had 2 games in a row consistently where he has struggled, so hopefully he'll rebound.
Yeah, this is the typical Crawford. I think this game is going to be Chicago's because I think that this is going to be the typical Crawford rebound game that you normally tend to see after he has a pretty weak game, giving up 24 shots, then 4 goals on those 24 shots.
Yeah.
He normally responds very well and steps up for his team.
I'm going to pose this question, even though I know pretty much the answer everyone's going to give. Bishop status being up in the air, and he's been a little bit up and down in the series. Anyone give any thought to maybe they should have started Vasilevsky in this game?
I think they should.
No, you go with your starter.
Yeah, I think they go with the guy that's.
Yeah, the only way Bishop doesn't start is if it's an injury that's like really bad. That really would affect his game.
Now, the thing I'm seeing from Twitter right now is normally the backup goaltender stays out there as long as possible before a game. Vasilevsky came off earlier than most backups would. Bishop went off first, but Maybe Vasilevsky going off a little bit earlier is a sign that maybe Bishop isn't 100% and they're worried that he won't get through this entire game. If Bishop doesn't get through this entire game, does that change your pick at all, especially Frank, as you pick Tampa to win?
It would really depend on like how Bishop is playing. Like the only way I see Bishop leaving the game is if the possible injury.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he,
it really there's a lot of variations that go into it though. I don't see Bishop. The only way I see Bishop leaving the game is if that, like I said, I'm putting injury in quotation marks because we still don't know what caused him to leave game 2.
And it was not a bathroom break.
It was not
a bathroom. It seems like it was not a bathroom break.
He got the spooks.
He was just there so he wouldn't get fined.
Yeah. Maybe he had Taco Bell earlier.
Okay, so you got Tampa Bay and Chicago about to get underway here. One thing that we did not cover here last week on the show, which we probably should have. Sabres hired a head coach.
Oh, yeah.
And although the Cup's going to be going on here, it still hasn't started. We're going to transition into the Sabres coach a little bit. Babcock, of course, passes on the Sabres for Toronto. Sabres went into that Thursday, believing that they had him, and then he changed his mind, reportedly, and went over to coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Only, within the week, Sabres hired Dan Bilesma to be their head coach, moved very swiftly with it, seemed like they knew right away that he was going to be their backup plan. Do we like this hire?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's my thought. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you listen to Penguins fans a lot. Which I do not.
No.
Just see, the only thing on Bishop that I've seen in the negative is a lot of Penguins fans seem to blame him for the playoffs disappointments, which I think is insane because you saw them this year have disappointments and he wasn't there.
If you weren't handed the talent to get you through a playoff push, then why should you be blamed? That's my viewpoint on this whole thing, is that the Penguins knew, especially a couple of the years when, the one year they didn't have Crosby healthy, they didn't have Malkin healthy another year. You got to get talent to surround the top players on your team. You got to have depth, and when you don't have depth, then you're not going to get far in the playoffs. I mean, I think we've all seen that with the playoff teams in the past, Stanley Cup final teams at least in the past, 5 years. If you don't have depth, you're not going to get anywhere in the playoffs.
And he also hasn't got great goaltending.
No.
Fleury's had some bad playoffs.
Fleury has been one of the most inconsistent goaltenders over the past 5 years. He was hot one playoffs. This past playoffs, he was hot, and then the other playoffs, he couldn't stop anything. Couldn't stop a beach ball from going in the net.
It's even more alarming to me this year that they weren't able to get any traction in the series when Fleury was playing hot. And basically, the roster was very similar to when Bilesma left it, except you basically sub out James Neal for Patrick Hornquist. And the team played much worse under Johnson than they did under Bilesma.
They also had a lot more injuries.
Yeah, they didn't, and they also didn't have some of those guys like Orpik.
Yeah, Orpik and Niskanen were both
did
gone
Mata play?
too. Mata
and Ehrhoff did not actually.
Mata and Ehrhoff have both been hurt.
Yeah.
Letang was hurt too.
I think that the Penguins team this year was extremely depleted
It was very,
compared to what Bilesma had. But I still think Bilesma, compared to Babcock, that's a $5 million difference
a year.
Yeah, a year.
A year.
And it's that's just
my
insane.
What was it, $60 million difference guaranteed?
I think in the long run we'll be happy with Bilesma.
And I know the difference between Babcock and Bilesma might be a little bit bigger than I've been thinking, but Babcock really, when you think about it, only has one cup. Obviously, he's been to the playoffs if I'm not mistaken, every year since he was the coach for the Red Wings. But, I mean, Babcock only has the one ring that he got in Detroit, and Bilesma got one in his 5 years in Pittsburgh. He knows how to coach stars. So, I mean, a lot of people are, want to coach that the excuse is, well, he had Crosby and Malkin on his team. But wouldn't you rather have a coach that knows how to handle talent like that on his roster than maybe a guy like Ted Nolan?
With regards to Dan Bilesma, another big issue was Pittsburgh was rarely drafting their own players. Ray Sherrill would trade his first-round pick like it was, hey, have a free piece of candy. Let's get a rental player and let's see if we can just make another cup push.
Right.
And when you don't develop your own talent from within, there's going to be issues. And that's where they finally slowed down. They finally did not have something going for them. And it was... Jordan, I think it was you that said it last week where the difference between Pittsburgh and Chicago is Keith and Seabrook.
Yeah, definitely. That's the huge difference.
And Pittsburgh doesn't have that kind of guy. Why? Because they rarely drafted their own players.
Yeah.
Adding on to your point, Derek, Pittsburgh does not have a first-round pick this year. They traded that to get
For
David
David
Perron,
Perron.
who David Perron was not good.
He was
when
not
came
playing
to
like a
Pittsburgh.
first-round pick.
Well, let me rephrase my last statement. He was good for the first month that he was in Pittsburgh, and then after that he dropped off drastically, was absent for the playoffs. I think he was scratched for one of the games against New York in the first round. And it was just ugly. It was just really bad. And now they're trying to say, oh, well, we're going to try and trade for a first-round pick at this year's draft.
Yeah, good luck.
Who are you? I mean, the only player I can see them trading to get a first-round pick is Malkin. And I don't think they're going to be able to trade Malkin because his cap hit is extremely high. It's near $10 million. It's
Also,
it's
you'd
like
want a
9.6
high
mil.
first-round pick for a guy like Malkin.
Oh, yeah.
And you're not going to get it.
Yeah. I mean, good luck trying to trade Malkin and get a package that would fit that trade.
Or getting
Kunitz,
a late first-round
the only
pick.
other player maybe that can draw a late first-rounder is Chris Kunitz.
Maybe Letang.
Maybe Letang, but I don't think they're ready to get rid of Letang because if they get rid of Letang, their next – I mean, they've got –
They're so thin at D.
They're so thin
Yeah,
at
they're
D.
already thin
Yeah, their
at
defense
D
could be
already.
depleted.
I mean, they've got Derek Pouliot coming in, and they've got a few other guys, but I mean, still, they're not ready yet. Pouliot, I mean, it would benefit him to have at least one more year in the AHL with Wilkes-Barre, but they can't afford to lose any of their D. I mean, if they want to trade anybody, it's got to be like a Rob Scuderi who's up in his 30s. He's like 35, 36. Yeah, exactly. So you just gotta bite the bullet somewhere and try and trade somebody. I mean, I think Pittsburgh would. I think if Pittsburgh gets into the first round, it's not going to be until the last 25 picks of the first round, or the last like 25 to 30, anywhere in that range with a team who's willing to just whatever. We'll trade with you. We'll take on Kunitz or somebody like that, package a somewhat decent deal. But
while we're on the topic of Pittsburgh, do we think they should explore trading of getting Malkin? Because when you look at the two teams in the finals right now, they don't have an elite elite player as their second line center. Brad Richards and Tyler Johnson are both very good players, but they are in no way when you're mentioning players like top players in the league, you're not mentioning Tyler Johnson or Brad Richards. Do we really think they need Malkin as their second line center, or can they ship him out, get some picks, and get other supporting pieces to build around Crosby?
It would make sense to trade Malkin. Like, I can see where they trade him, but
it would just be difficult.
It would be extremely difficult.
It's way too difficult.
And you probably don't want to trade him right away. You don't want to trade him right now.
Yeah.
A guy that you want to trade is Brandon Sutter.
Yeah.
That's your guy, because Brandon Sutter, he's a good two-way centerman, but his offensive production is
he's a very good
not
third-line center.
Yeah, he's a good third-line center. He's a very good penalty killer. One of the best penalty killers in the league, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. One of the best. But, good shutdown centerman.
He's filled in Jordan Stahl's role very well, except Jordan Stahl was a little more offensive.
Oh, yeah. Jordan Stahl was definitely more offensive than Brandon Sutter.
Yeah. Penguins also, by the way, news came out this week that Mario Lemieux and their other owner are seeking a sale of the franchise, possibly. Do we think that in any way changes their makeup, general manager-wise, coach-wise, roster-wise, or do we feel like it's just kind of going to stay as it goes for the upcoming future?
They're becoming the Las Vegas Penguins.
Yeah, the Las Vegas Penguins. Crosby, you're going to Vegas. Enjoy.
He will. With the money he's making, he would enjoy it.
I feel like Gino would enjoy it a little more. Seems more of like a party goer, but okay. Vegas, by the way, quick transition just to them for a little bit. Gary Bettman said at the upcoming general managers or owners meetings that he is going to bring up expansion, and if he gets approval, that they are going to be moving forward with the process. At this point, it seems like probably 2 teams would be the plan. Not for next year, but maybe for the year after. Vegas seems at this point like they are a front runner to get a team if this does happen. Do we all like that as an idea, Vegas getting an expansion team, and who might be possible options for a second team?
I think the possible option for the second team would be London, England.
London, England.
I think
the NHL has to expand to Europe.
Yeah, do it before the NFL.
Yeah. Oh God, no.
Boy. No.
No.
The NHL shouldn't expand, honestly.
For anybody
30 teams is enough.
For anybody who didn't pick up on my sarcasm, shame on you. I think that I think the NHL would benefit from having a team in Las Vegas because they're they would be the only professional team in Vegas as of right now.
Yeah.
That's an actual professional team and not a semi-professional team
Or a minor league team.
or a minor league team. Yes, exactly. And then the other team, it has to be Quebec. It has to be Quebec City because
That's what it's pointing to.
they have an NHL arena. They have an NHL-sized arena that's going to be ready.
They have an NHL-sized fan base.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Seattle might be another option for.
I think Seattle's still another few years away. They got to get They got to get a new arena. That's the deal breaker.
That would probably be like that's probably like option 3.
I think that just like a 2 Western teams just seems like a really big good fit because then it would be 16-16.
That's my thought process because at the moment you have 14 teams in the West and 16 in the East. It would make a lot of sense if you can add those 2 teams out West. Vegas would be your one. Seattle at the moment they are snagged on that arena. Recently, I believe. Planners for the arena are trying to push an NHL first plan because they've been waiting to get an NBA team before they started on the arena. But if they can get going on that arena with the plan being an NHL franchise first, I mean, they still have the arena that the Sonics played in. It's not a good arena in any ways, but if it's a 1-year replacement that you can put in so you can have a team there going forward, that would be my choice.
Having Vegas as an option for the expansion in the NHL actually might benefit Seattle because the NBA really right now isn't looking to expand as actively as the NHL is. Seattle tried getting an NBA roster, but I mean, having a team in Vegas really is going to benefit the NHL, so that could help Seattle because you're going to, like you said earlier, Jordan, that you can have then 2 added teams in the West, so that could benefit Seattle.
And you've got a team in flux in Florida still, and you don't know what's going to happen with them in the long term.
That's where I think Quebec City comes into play.
You might want
what makes the most sense.
Yeah, you might want Quebec as a fallback option for the Panthers if you can't support them and keep them afloat.
I mean, they're in Montreal's division already.
Yeah.
It's actually
weird.
Like just a perfect fit. Like
let's also not forget Arizona is still not a guarantee to stay there. Their lease is only they've only got 4 more years on their lease from the city of Glendale. And after that, their owner Barroway, I think it's Todd Barroway, he said that he wants to keep the team in Arizona, but if they don't get the city's approval, then there's nowhere else for them to go. They gotta go somewhere else.
And it makes you wonder, like after Vegas, Seattle, Quebec, the 3 cities that you've like heard most about, like what would be next? Say you get the 2 expansions and you get Florida to Quebec, where would Arizona go if their deal falls through?
At what point does Gary Bettman just be like, I've had enough of all this ownership question in Arizona? Like, I mean, how long has it been with the ownership questions there?
I mean, Arizona was his baby, kind of, though.
Well,
or he treats it like his baby.
It's a deformed.
Well, then he must have treated Atlanta like a basket case child.
He ignored Atlanta
until it's too late to save them. Well, I guess you can go to Winnipeg. That's a good option.
He put Atlanta up for adoption, basically. I mean, if all those cities have teams by then, I mean, at that point, maybe you're looking at a city like Portland, maybe as like a 4th choice. They have an arena. They have an arena. There's been no interest really from any businessmen around there.
Toronto
or anyone
team
that wants
2.
to bring a team.
Toronto team 2.
Toronto team 2 is
We have a goal. There it is.
Well, my feed is not caught up to it.
Well, neither has mine, but apparently Twitter's just beating us to it. Ryan Callahan with a goal.
Good. I was watching Chicago buzz around. I thought they were going to get it.
No. You lied. Right here.
Tampa.
Boom. Heck of a shot.
Breaking news here on Neutral Ice. The Lightning scored.
Slap shot it. What a shot.
Ryan Callahan, of course, from Rochester.
Wow.
Am I correct on that? I feel
you're correct.
I'm hesitant on that for some reason.
So.
You're correct. He's from Greece, I think.
Yes. Okay. And while I'm going to do a nice transition here over to Rochester.
You're just full of transitions today, aren't you?
I'm on fire with the transitions.
There you are.
In between, not so well. Rochester Americans were in the news this week. Ted Black and Sabres ownership were in negotiations with the city of Rochester over a new lease for Blue Cross Arena, and it was reported that they explored at one point and still have not ruled out for the future the Americans playing half of their games in Buffalo. How do we all feel about that? a potential 40 games of AHL hockey in Buffalo.
Oh.
Was my reaction.
Well, I mean, it's sort of a trend now where the AHL team is deciding to play in the same city where the NHL team is. I mean, you got the Manitoba Moose coming back with Winnipeg still playing at the MTS Center, and then you got the San Jose Barracuda, which I think is the newest cool AHL name. It's fantastic.
Great. Fantastic.
Well, it's I mean it's because that the company in San Jose that is like has some sort of ownership rights with the Sharks is Barracuda. Their company name is Barracuda, so it's like, oh, well, why not name the affiliate Barracudas? Okay. The logo's pretty cool though. The logo is actually really cool.
Yeah, it is.
The little Barracuda's cool, and then they actually have their company logo in the background behind it, which is even really cooler. It's so cool.
It's the coolest.
So much cool. Wow.
Yeah, and we've also seen success in Toronto, the Marlies.
Yep, that's one I
city.
forgot. But I mean, they play in a different arena though. It's not like Winnipeg or San Jose where they're going to be playing in the same.
What was weird to me is when I saw the report, I believe John Vogel did it from the Buffalo News, or it might have been Kevin Oklubja, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. They both did stories on him, but one of them mentioned that he would know. They didn't know whether the Americans would play in First Niagara Center or at Harbor Center, and at that point, you have to think Harbor Center only holds 1,800 people. If they're going to do that, then they're going to have to expand the seating.
Oh, they would have to put more money into it.
A lot. They would have to expand the seating by a lot.
And I can't see. I can't
seems
even
like a lot
see
of
an
work to
OHL
me.
team fitting in there. You can't even really expand the seating there that much in the first place.
Smallest OHL arena, I believe, is only like 2,200.
And
that's for the OHL.
Yeah.
Most AHL arenas, you're looking at around 10,000, probably as an average. So I mean, the Sharks are going to make it work really with their team. So you would really have to get the scheduling right. But like, does anyone feel bad for like the city of Rochester here, like taking their AHL team? Because I mean, we don't really, the fans don't really need the Amerks here. Is my point.
That is true, but if Buffalo's gonna move more games here, they might as well just
move
put
them here
the team
altogether.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like because how does it make sense to have half a team here? Like you might as well just move them here entirely.
The only thing, though, is the only thing that would prevent it is the history part, but really, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, Americans, they're the fourth oldest team in the AHL,
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's hard to just pick up a franchise like that that's been in the same city for so long. And you remember, Ted Black, when he came in here, said that we were going to have a parade in Rochester, too, when we won the Stanley Cup. And it just seems like they're kind of turning their back on the city there. But we'll see what goes forward with the Amerks there. They're still in lease negotiations.
To answer your question with the smallest OHL arena, from what I've seen, it is the Kingston Frontenacs. Total max capacity of 3,300.
Home of Lawson Krause. Apparently, no one wants to watch him play.
Apparently, no one likes Lawson Krause.
I don't like Lawson Krause.
Well, I can see why maybe people don't like him, but I think he's got some upside. I really do.
He's got upside because he's
big. I understand that, but I mean, he's one of those guys that, you put him in front of the net. He loves to crash the front of the net. He loves to cash in on those juicy pucks in front of the net. I mean, you throw him in front of the net on a power play. He's big. He's got the size. He's going to create some havoc. He's physical. I mean, a lot of people give him flack just because, he's nothing special or, he hasn't done anything to prove it. Well, didn't you watch him at the World Juniors? I mean, he was picked to play on Team Canada for a reason. He was a good fourth-line player. He was playing with, guys like Nick Ritchie, Nick Paul. Who else did he play with? Frederick Gauthier. I mean, really good players that he was playing with. You put him on a team with some other good players like that to play him with, he can be a very good shutdown third, second line forward. I don't see him anything being like a first line forward like a Rick Nash or anything like that, but I could definitely see him being a second or third liner.
I agree with you. My problem is people have him going as early as 5th overall in the draft. And I think at that point, when you're picking someone that high, even 5, 6, 7, you're expecting them to not only be a shutdown player like that, but you're expecting them to provide a lot of offense for you too and be out there in key situations when you're down a goal maybe. To me, he hasn't shown prolific offensive talent at the OHL level, which that kind of that scares me a little bit.
Mhm.
When you've got guys like Mitch Marner who are available there, while he's not nearly as big or as good as in a shutdown role, he's got great offensive talent.
He
that
can
we've
skate
seen.
really well.
Yeah. And Krause, to me, he just doesn't have that flash that I'm looking for. He kind of reminds me, while a lot of people love Jordan Staal for what he is, I think Jordan Staal is a little bit of a bust where he went second overall. But he reminds me of just kind of a third line
If Jordan
center.
Staal could stay healthy, I think he'd be fine. But he over the past 2 seasons, he's barely been able to be on the ice. He can't stay healthy enough to play. And just watching the feed
Plus, he
there,
spent
Hossa
most of-
completely missed the net. Wide
we
open.
Just saw that, and then
Bust.
Brandon Saad just took a tripping penalty. I can't say Jordan Staal's been a bust. Too, same reason hasn't been healthy enough. And then when he spent his career in Pittsburgh, he's been behind Crosby and Malkin, so he never really got. The only chance he got was when they both were hurt.
Yeah. I mean, when he went to Carolina, I mean, he has been injury riddled, but even.
What was the year that Crosby and Malkin were both hurt? Was it
2008?
11?
Or yeah, it was later than that.
2010, 2011, one of those
I'm
years.
looking at his stats right now. He didn't even play full season that year, too.
Yeah, no, that year somehow
And his
they
numbers
still-
are pretty good.
But, imagine, by the way, Penguins could have drafted Jonathan Toews.
They could have.
Or even Nicholas Backstrom or Phil Kessel, which were right behind them. See, when I'm looking at Staal, when I'm looking at the players, the 3 behind him, who they've had much better careers than him at this point. And that's where I get the bust mentality from him. I don't want to say bust like he's not a very good player, because I mean I believe made an All-Star game. He is one of the dominant players one of the dominant defensive players in the league. And I mean he makes $6 million a year, and there's a reason for that, because he doesn't provide value. But he doesn't have that elite talent that I'm looking for when I'm picking second overall. That's my problem with him. But how do we get on Jordan Staal again? Oh, the Lawson Krause comparison.
Yeah.
Losing track here.
Yeah,
Going
Joe.
nuts. I'm watching too much Stanley Cup Finals. It's like,
Well,
diminishes the
it's
breath.
great because
Oh,
this
it's
week we have
4-4.
Game 3, and then next week, if the series is still going, it'll be Game 6.
Yeah.
When we're on the air.
Yeah.
Which I think it'll happen.
It's got to go 7.
Oh yeah, it's
gotta
going.
go
At
You would
least
love it
6.
to go 7. I don't know.
So you're saying Chicago would have it done before then? Right.
I mean, the earliest it'll go is definitely 6. It's not going to go 5 like last year.
Yeah,
No.
Can't go
Neither of
4.
these teams are winning 3 straight.
No.
Yeah.
No, because if one team has a bad game, the next team's going to come right back the next day and have an even better game.
And we've seen from Tampa, too, the way they've been in these playoffs, they're either amazing or they just look average. And when they're going up and down like that, that's going to cause them to be very inconsistent, and then you're going to have a longer series.
One thing that I noticed about Tampa Bay, and we'll say this, and I'll say this real quick because we got to hit a break here, but when I was watching the game on Saturday, when Vasilevsky came into the net in favor of Ben Bishop, it was quite amazing how much difference there was between Bishop and Vasilevsky in the net. It was like, Ben Bishop, just 6'7", tall, lumberous, if that's even a word, lumberous guy,
all about
just
positioning.
built. And then
the
Vasilevsky, who actually, is a good goaltending prospect. I mean, he's ranked number 2 out of 100 on hockeysfuture.com for the up-and-coming prospects coming into the NHL or at the NHL level right now. So, I thought it was just hilarious, the difference there was between the two.
Yeah, because Bishop's like all about positioning, and then when you look at Vasilevsky, he relies a lot on his athleticism, and Bishop doesn't do that a ton. So, I mean, there is a huge difference in him and net. When you're looking at those two, that can even be an option. I mean, I make this point too much, I feel like, but when you've got a established starter in your net, and then you have a great goalie prospect, when you're a team like the Sabres, you would maybe try to pry one of those guys away from a franchise like that.
Vasilevsky would be astronomical trade value. They would be so high for him.
Would be what in your mind?
Like how
It'd
much?
be, probably 2 future firsts.
I wouldn't.
Tampa knows that he's the number 2 guy in the hockey league. Tampa knows that he's valuable.
Yeah, but not that much. I don't think it's that much though.
I mean, what do you think it would be?
Well, let's hold that thought.
Okay.
We'll give you a few minutes to think about that one, Frank.
All
We're going
right.
to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue to talk about the possible trade value for Andrei Vasilevsky. Here on 91.3 FM WBNY, you're listening to Neutral Ice. 91.3 FM WBNY, Buffalo's Original Alternative since 1982. You're listening to Neutral Ice with Jody Biasi, Brayton Wilson, Jordan Hanskin, Ludi Biasi, Frank Arcuri, and Derek Kramer. That was a mouthful. Before we hit the break, we're talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning goaltenders. Ben Bishop, established starter, Vezina nominee last season.
Mm-hmm.
Andrei Vasilevsky, former first-round pick, second-ranked goaltender prospect by hockeyfuture.com. Frank, you were posed the question right before break.
Yeah.
What would the trade value be for Andrei Vasilevsky if you're the Buffalo Sabres?
So humongous big.
Brizzy for GM.
Yes. I right now, like let's say it's like right before the draft, and and you find out Vasilevsky is available for trade. I think Murray could trade the 21st pick and probably maybe a lower end prospect and maybe add another like mid-round pick in there, and you could get him.
You know what the value would be? Zdeno Chara, Patrice Bergeron, and five first-round picks.
And a bowl of clam chowder.
With hot sauce.
The
Lots
hot
and
sauce
lots
in
of
my
hot sauce.
bowl of New England clam chowder.
Oh, wait, he's not the GM anymore.
Oh.
Edmonton's GM.
Oh,
It's Don Sweeney now.
Don Sweeney.
So Don Sweeney's like, okay, Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci, Milan Lucic, Zdeno Chara, and six first-round picks.
Oh, okay.
I do that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really with Vasilevsky, I think his value is going to be very high right now. I don't know if it's worth it when he's so unproven. I would like to wait to see how he develops under Bishop as the backup for a little bit, and then maybe make a trade if the Sabres haven't figured out.
I don't think the Lightning are in any rush to give up Vasilevsky neither, because I think if anybody, they're probably going to be giving up Bishop first.
Yeah.
That would probably
It
be my
depends.
guess. Because Vasilevsky, they drafted him so high. They drafted him 19th overall in the 2012 NHL draft.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you kind of ride on your goaltender there?
And honestly, Tampa, I mean, being in the same division as Buffalo, I mean, they have a very young core.
Bishop looks hurt.
Bishop is hurt.
He looks hurt. He went over to follow the puck, and he looked like he was kind of slumping. But
we'll keep you updated on that. Bishop, of course, questionable to play the game going into it, and now a little bit shaken up. While we stick on the goaltenders and possible trades, when you're Tampa Bay, you've got a very young core, and if I'm them, I'm planning on being successful really for a long time here going forward in this division. When you're looking at teams you might be competing with going forward, Buffalo might be at the top of your list. So do you really want to give them that upper echelon prospect that could come back to sting you for a decade?
That's why I say was never going to get Vasilevsky, because Tampa's
Yeah.
You don't want to trade. There's always one thing when it comes to being a GM, and that's you don't want to trade in your division. The other part of that, you don't want to trade a goalie within your division. That's the Toronto Maple Leafs stats.
Andrew Raycroft.
Tuukka Rask.
Yes. That was the worst trade ever.
Darren Poopa.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think a Vasilevsky trade makes a lot of sense. There was a tweet by Darren Dreger earlier that the Sabres...
Darren Poopa.
It's Darren Poopa night. The Sabres would be interested and have been interested in Ottawa Senators goaltender Robin Lehner, and that the price is reportedly a pick and either a top 6 forward now or a top 6 forward for the future.
which is way too high of a value.
Way too high.
Way too high.
Especially for some of the options out there right now that you wouldn't even have to give up anything in free agency. It's just definitely not worth it.
Yeah, like, I mean, honestly, is Antiniemi any less? I mean, Lehner is younger and more promising, but
see, with the
are you getting more from Niemi or Lehner right away than you're getting from Niemi? Probably not.
With the Sabres situation anyway, with you look at some of their prospects that are going to take a couple years, I would rather maybe have the older guy like Antiniemi who can make more of an impact now.
Yeah.
Just depends on how the development of, guys like Linus Allmark and, Andrei Makarov go.
Chicago.
You are not going to be happy, Joe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the shots are 17-5.
Deflection in front.
Yep.
Bye.
Brad Richards, it looks like. That's,
You sure?
That's who they
Why won't he
Brad
show
Richards
away?
took the
That's who they Was it Richards took the shot? I didn't see.
Yeah, Brad Richards took the shot.
Took the shot. I didn't
According
see
to Twitter, nobody knows who scored it yet.
Oh no,
because-
it's Richards. It's Richards. He did get the goal. It
apparently
didn't
got
it
through.
didn't deflect. It just went off Bishop's arm.
Is it just me or every time Shaw's on the ice, it seems like he like almost gets every goal? Like he's
It's true.
always just like
He's trying to
He's
play.
there.
He's just trying to play the game called My Goal.
Shaw is the next Dave Bolin for Chicago.
Yeah.
And the Leafs are going to
And he always acts like he scored it. Like,
Yeah. He's excited.
He's just trying to play a game called My Goal.
Yeah, I went right off Bishop's glove. Yeah.
It's my goal.
65. It was 65.
Yeah, my goal. You weren't on the ice. It was my goal.
My goal.
Do we all think that header should have counted in the last series?
You wanted it to, but it,
You
wanted it to.
wanted to,
Yeah.
but you knew it
But-
couldn't.
Yeah.
It didn't matter anyways because they still won the game.
Yeah.
True.
I'm serious though. You look at the NHL and they're trying to increase all this goal scoring. Why not just allow kicking and
It's
pushing the puck in with your
Allow
hand, or
kicking.
like I mean, just get
It's
as
cheap.
much offense as you can get.
It's cheap.
Oh, there goes Ben Bishop's glove hand again.
Oops.
Where'd it go?
Nowhere.
I'm frozen
It was there?
here.
And then it wasn't.
I hate the internet.
Internet hates you.
Yeah.
Ben Bishop just needs to go take a
Feelings
nap.
neutral.
Well,
Go take a nap. Let Vasilevsky come in.
Yeah.
well,
He's clearly not 100%.
No,
he
he's
can't
not.
be playing right now. I mean, when you're laboring that much going side to side, you're looking like, Al Montoya when he was barely able to get out of his own net. When Roberto Luongo was already hurt, it's just kind of like, okay, just hold on. Just hold on, Al. We're getting help, I swear. And Ben Bishop's just like, no, I want to fight it. It's like, no, you can't. You clearly can't.
Strombone's getting dressed. Don't worry, he's coming.
Yeah, this could only get worse for Bishop. Like it could only
Yeah.
the Blackhawks could just put on like 4.
Well, here's the problem right now. Tampa's got to clean up their game. They had an early advantage in shots 4-1, and then it's just been ugly from there on.
Tampa hasn't got a shot in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's been ugly. Tampa's dominating.
Chicago.
You wish Tampa was down.
Oh, Chicago's dominating. I can words good.
You words very nicely.
Well, let's transition over to the NHL Scouting Combine, which happened in Buffalo this past weekend. Brayton, I believe you were there. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we've
How
got
was it?
one man that was on the scene. Jack
I was
Eichel-
there Friday. Saturday, I was not there. Friday was still pretty entertaining, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jack Eichel did very well in all the physical testing. He was probably the best player there in terms of that. Definitely did better than Connor McDavid, although a lot of people thought that he probably would, being that he's more physical and more physically mature
No,
than
yeah,
McDavid
it was
is at this point.
expected that he would beat McDavid.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
at this point, it's tough because we're a little bit biased here that we're in the Buffalo market. But
Yes, sir.
if let's put it this way, because Edmonton would never even dream of doing this. But if Buffalo had won the first overall pick, would there be any debate right now as to whether they should take Eichel over McDavid?
I think you still go with McDavid, but
Would there be a debate?
it
'Cause
would be
in Edmonton
it's a
right
lot
now-
closer after the combine.
In Edmonton right
than
now,
it was
there's
before
no
the combine.
debate because if they picked Eichel, Peter Chiarelli would probably be run out of Canada.
Edmonton would burn to the ground.
Yes, like the city would be like they would have to move. Honestly,
Toronto
'cause
would.
there'd be nowhere to play.
People from Toronto would go to Edmonton and burn the city. They would riot until it was just smoldering ashes. You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. Edmonton would be
On fire.
nothing. The way that the
Guys, what
Canadian
happened?
media is blowing up McDavid on every billboard, every commercial, everything, anything
He's
run by
LeBron
Canada.
in Canada.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
It's
Almost bigger.
Ugh. It's almost disgusting to see how the Canadian media is running itself with McDavid right now. Because there's nothing else that they want to talk about. Even when it was like, the Montreal Canadiens are playing well, but first Connor McDavid.
Yeah, like he's the main story, and he's not even playing in Canada. He's
I
playing in Erie.
really do like Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid is going to be a phenomenal player. But you can tell in both, not only Connor McDavid, but Jack Eichel, they are both tired of the media. They are both tired of the attention that they're getting. It's just, 3 weeks from now, they're going to be at the draft. It's almost 2 weeks from now, but 3 weeks from now, basically, they're going to be at the NHL draft, and they're already going to get enough attention there. give these kids a break. I mean, they're both at the Stanley Cup Finals right now in Chicago, and they were getting a whole bunch of media attention earlier. Just let the kids be. Just let them go home, spend their time with their family. They probably haven't seen their family in
weeks,
months, months.
Years.
Let them be. Let them enjoy their 2 or 3 weeks before the NHL draft, and then before more media scrums. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, development camps, let's go. And it's like, oh, okay.
McDavid's billet family probably kicked them out after the Sabres lost the lottery, being that they're Sabre fans.
You could also tell that Eichel is beginning to be tired of the comparison to Connor McDavid. As he said in his WGR interview, he pretty much said he's the best player in the draft, but you could just see by the demeanor in which he was talking that really he's kind of sick of being labeled with McDavid. But I mean, that's just how it's going to be for his entire career. People are always going to compare these two.
He's handling it very well like a professional, but you can just tell on his face. You can tell both of them on their faces. It's the same stuff over and over again.
They don't care anymore.
No, they
it
don't.
Doesn't matter.
And he's probably being.
They just want to get it all done with.
And if I'm Eichel, I'm tired of being constantly considered like a guaranteed second best to McDavid. There's very, very few people out there that think he is better than Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's going around telling teams that he's better, and I would have that same attitude because, I mean, if you're Jack Eichel, what could you have done more?
And you have to have that attitude. You can't say, "Oh, he is better." No, you have to just go into that.
Right.
Yeah. And you have to say, "I am the best and I want to be the best and I'm going to be the best."
And Eichel's done everything he could have. He can't control that Matt O'Connor dropped the puck and they lost to Providence. Like, that wasn't under his control.
No.
Team USA and against Canada in the World Juniors, I mean, McDavid's roster was loaded. He was at the second line center. You didn't even have to be the main guy. That was the Reinhart, Domi, and Duclair line. That Canadian team was stacked, and Eichel's team, while Team USA was very good, they didn't have nearly as many.
Rely on Eichel
no,
more.
yeah, you can tell Eichel was forcing a lot of plays during the juniors because of the lack of offensive talent around him.
I think Canada had about a dozen first-round draft picks on their squad, and USA, I think, had maybe 5 or 6, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, just the talent, Eichel didn't have nearly as much to go off, and he was put out in every key situation to be the guy, and McDavid didn't have to be that.
And then you saw the World Championships. Eichel has less pressure, and he looks great
He's playing with
grown
professionals.
Against grown professionals, exactly.
And like,
I kind of wish McDavid played in that. I know he was in the OHL playoffs at the time. I really wish McDavid played in that too, because that's what you wanted to see, was him playing against grown men too.
Yeah,
you would have loved to see them both play in the same thing.
And when you're looking forward to even next year, I'm going to say this assuming, I don't even know if I'm going to assume this, but if Eichel does come to the NHL next year, which he's saying it's still up in the air today, he said he has unfinished business in Boston University, so, I mean, there's still a chance he goes back.
His teammate AJ Greer said he's not coming back.
I don't know why he keeps saying this to the media. Like, he should at least just ignore the question. Even his coach said on WGR that he's
ready
tell
for the
Jack
NHL.
that he's ready for the NHL.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to pass up $1 million.
His coach said, I will drive him personally to Buffalo because he's that ready.
So assuming that he is in the NHL next year, which Brayton clearly thinks he will be, when you're looking at like a race for a Calder Trophy, I mean, Eichel to me just looks like he's more ready to play against men in the NHL than McDavid is. Like, if I had to pick a Calder Trophy winner for next year, I would probably pick Eichel.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in that?
No, I
early
I
season
would.
predictions, you'd probably pick Eichel because you know he could probably transition quicker.
And I mean, he probably wouldn't have better line mates because McDavid's probably going right to line one for Edmonton.
No, I think early on, I think McDavid would actually be the favorite just because of the line he would end up playing on.
Put him with Hall and Eberle.
Yeah,
My God.
If Eberle's not,
It's called Eberle.
Eberle.
Jordan Eberle.
Czech Republic.
Tyler Seguin.
Things we learned at the World Championships. Czech Republic has no hockey broadcasters that speak English.
Now, do you guys think about Eichel? Do you think that in the beginning of the season was there really a huge difference, or was that the entire time really they were close in talent, or is it more Eichel closing in on McDavid over the past couple months in the World Championships and the National Championship? Was it always a huge difference, or is it really now that Eichel's just people are just starting to realize Eichel, okay, he's maybe not that much far off from McDavid?
No. I don't think it was ever that. I think it's just because they're just two different players, and not only that, but McDavid has been the guy that's gotten the media attention.
Right.
Yeah.
They're both very good players. They both are projected to be generational type players, except Eichel is the blue-collar, pound-and-ground type of player that people in Buffalo absolutely love, and Connor McDavid is the superstar talent that's like a Sidney Crosby that Canada wants to be the next Crosby. It's plain and simple. And
I do think Eichel still has the flash and
just
talent,
imagine if Jack
Absolutely
Eichel got the same media attention as Connor McDavid did this year. Just imagine if Eichel had the Transitions Jack Eichel show that Sportsnet did. Just imagine if he was shown on NHL Network every other Friday night.
Let me ask this question. If Eichel was Canadian, would there be a debate in Edmonton?
Oh, yeah. There would be a big debate.
Doesn't that seem silly?
I think so.
Doesn't it just seem silly, though, that their decision is, like, the reason there's no debate is because of a player's nationality?
If you think about it, though, Eichel fits the Western style of hockey better than
really
McDavid does.
Yep.
Yeah.
McDavid, I was talking about it with Derek earlier. I think there's only one player that is very similar to an Eastern style of player in the Eastern Conference, Patrick Kane.
Yep.
He's the only one that I could see him being signed by an Eastern Conference team and playing just as well as he did in the West, because
the West is more punishing.
I think we've seen it a lot of times in the past where guys who are playing in the Eastern Conference, they'll go to the Western Conference and they won't play as well because it's a totally different style of hockey.
It's more physical.
Yeah.
It's more beat them down. It's got a lot more of a grinding style to it with bigger bodies like a Getzlaf, a Joe Thornton, a Dustin Brown, Kopitar. Even Kopitar has a bit of skill, but he has size
Kopitar
to
has
him.
lots of skill,
Yeah.
and then he has the size to go
and,
with it.
and like Getzlaf and Perry are just like perfect combination.
One
of
guy
that.
Derek also brought up when we were talking was Joe Thornton. That one guy that is actually able to succeed, but I mean, he's a big-bodied
He's a big
centerman.
dude.
Yeah.
He loves to feed the puck to anybody, and
But he's so good at protecting
Yeah.
it too. He's so good
'Cause
at.
but
body.
he fit
It's
that
that
Western.
body.
He's got the body.
He
Yeah,
fit that
exactly.
Western style of play.
Yeah.
And do I think McDavid's not going to play well because he's playing in the Western Conference? No. But I'm just saying that Eichel would probably fit the West better than the East. However, actually, he's probably going to play very well in the East because of that style of play. But I mean, he fits the West better than probably McDavid does.
Well, to your point, a lot of those players on Edmonton are kind of like that. Like Taylor Halls and Jordan Eberle and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Like they're not small players, but they're in no way physically dominating like Joe Thornton and
Not even
Kopitar and all
close.
these guys are. And some of that might be because of their age and they haven't really filled out yet. But you could say that's a big reason why Edmonton hasn't progressed in the past few seasons, because they're playing all these Western Conference teams and they're just getting manhandled by these giant lurking centers that are just better than them.
And in no way am I trying to say that, McDavid's not going to play like a Patrick Kane. I think, honestly, Patrick Kane is a top 10 player in the NHL, and McDavid is going to be right up there with a Kane. It's just, if you think about it, you'd almost rather have a kid like McDavid playing in the East because he fits that style of play. Yeah. It's going to take a little bit of a while for him to transition, but I mean, if he were to play in Buffalo or, heck, even Toronto, he'd probably play better in his first 20 games or something like that than he would in the West. It's going to take McDavid a little bit of time to adjust to the Western style of play and be successful, but I mean, especially in the past few years, the West has just become that ground and pound, big style of play, big style of offense where it's size and that will beat you over speed. But
I was like really I thought about this like a couple days after the lottery, was that when Edmonton won, they were basically handcuffed to McDavid, right? You can agree with that based on the Canadian media and all. They're handcuffed to him.
Oh yeah.
And
it's not a bad guy to be handcuffed
I
to.
thought that one of the worst things that could happen to Edmonton was be handcuffed to another star forward. I know McDavid's generational and he'll be amazing, but it might actually make it longer because Edmonton will still not address the defense. They still won't address it, and it might
in the draft
prolong. Yeah, at least in the draft. Hopefully they can make moves for their sake. They can make moves like the Islanders did and get some good veteran guys. But it might have actually lengthened their rebuild a little bit.
They have pieces they can move if they want to do that right away. Like they could move Leon Draisaitl if they want now. They really don't need him in a sense because if he's going to be playing center, you don't need him.
Well, I'll disagree with that. I think the way that Leon Draisaitl played when he went back to the Western Hockey League and then played in the Memorial Cup, he was fantastic.
Well, yeah, once he got traded to Kelowna, he was great. But that's my point. I think you could get a really good defenseman for him, honestly.
Oh, I think.
And I don't. Do you want if you could get a guy that you think can be on your top pairing going in the future? I mean, if Drysdale's going to remain at center, he might pass Nugent Hopkins or McDavid, but going forward, you would have to think he's a third-line center going forward, which do you really need a guy that high a caliber player as your third-line center if you can turn him around and you can get a first-pairing defenseman for him?
No, that is a good point. That actually might benefit them actually being this bad and landing McDavid, as you can use some of your young talent that really maybe isn't. I'm not saying Drysdale hasn't worked out because obviously this was his first year, but you could use some of that as an asset.
You can work
build a defense.
really, really valuable pieces and land something nice.
But
we're talking blockbuster capability trades here.
Right. But the thing is, McDavid, too, even though you can't build a defense as quickly, such a good player like McDavid can kind of patch that up and maybe not make it look as bad, maybe early on. But
yeah, if the puck possession is up there,
exactly.
like McDavid is very good at, then I mean you're putting less pressure on your defense. But
at the same time, this is still a team that could lose a game 6-4.
But unfortunately, the team that typically tends to just have patches to fix problems is Pittsburgh, and I don't think that Edmonton would like to resemble Pittsburgh. I'm pretty sure they would much rather be a Blackhawks.
They're kind of trending towards more like Pittsburgh.
Exactly, and I think that's an issue.
Difference is they have. Is 5 super talented young forwards, whereas Pittsburgh really
and no goalies.
Yeah,
no goalies.
At least they had Fleury, who was playing well to start his career, and has been inconsistent on and off a little bit every now and then.
Fleury did have a really good year this year, especially in the playoffs.
He did have a good year this year.
He's still he's a starting goalie in this league to me. He's just not elite.
Yeah, and luckily
Edmonton would be lucky to have that right now. Because, Scrivens is not getting the job done. Victor Fass is nothing. They don't have a lot coming up in their pipeline. They traded Dubnyk away for nothing.
And look what that got. And look how that worked out for him.
But then again, just imagine if Devin Dubnyk did not start the season in Arizona, do you think he would have had the season that he had?
No,
probably not. Absolutely not.
Sean Burke turned his career around, really.
Right.
He was a great goalie coach, and actually I believe he's getting interest now as a GM.
Mm-hmm. He's the assistant general manager in Arizona as well.
Yeah, so he did a really good job turning Dubnyk's game around, and even before he got traded to Minnesota, he was playing very well for Arizona. It's just Arizona was terrible, and we saw that a lot because we were watching a lot of their games. Thank you very much, Mark Argabello. And when you're looking at Edmonton, they have holes in D and in goal right now, and they do have pieces where they could turn that around. A guy that's more mentioned is Jordan Eberle because doesn't really have that elite potential.
Jordan Eberle.
Yes, Jordan Eberle.
Yeah,
but he's a matured player at this point. He's been an experienced player. He knows how to play. He's been a very consistent player. Had a bit of a problem with shot percentage. Was it this year or the year before that?
A lot of players I mentioned. I think it was this year though.
Yeah, because Lipa was pointing that out earlier on in the year, but. Again, Eberle seems like a piece that can be moved because he has leadership qualities to him. He's had to lead this young, troubled team, and I feel like he'd probably be the first one to go also because of the fact that he is already developed into what he's going to be.
Yeah, Draisaitl, if you get what you want out of him in the future, his prime's going to be lined up with McDavid, and their top defenseman in the system right now, Darnell Nurse. Eberle will be, it's not like Eberle's old, but he's still a good 5 years older than McDavid. So by the time McDavid's in his prime when he's 25, 26, Eberle's going to be entering the back half of his career. So, if you want to look really far in the future, you could say they'd rather have Draisaitl. But, if anyone here had to trade one of the two right now, would you trade Draisaitl or Eberle?
Draisaitl.
If you were going to trade him in the first place.
Draisaitl, because you know what you have in Eberle.
Eberle.
If you
had to.
Honestly, Draisaitl hasn't proven anything at the NHL level yet. Yes, granted, he is a very good prospect, but in the 20, 30 games that he played in the NHL, he really wasn't anything spectacular. I understand that, but you got a guy that's like Jordan Eberle who's already proven. You will probably get a higher value for Jordan Eberle. Oh my God, we're all saying this now as it is like this. We're all saying it now like that. Jordan Eberle would probably have a higher trade value than Leon Draisaitl. So if you want to get that top 2 defender, you got to trade Jordan Eberle. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You will get your top 2 defender for a trade with Eberle.
And see, I think this is the great thing about the difference between the Sabres and the Oilers is really how they rebuilt. It's a great thing because the Sabres still get an elite prospect like McDavid, only we get Eichel, but we've already built the defense into where we have 3 very solid pairs, and they're all very young. I mean, you look at Pysyk and McCabe are going to be coming up soon. We have the 2 young guys in Ristolainen and Zadorov.
And you got Zach Bogosian.
I mean, even Josh Georges for now is a fine piece.
He's a veteran.
He's a veteran.
He's the
You
quote
need to
unquote
have
veteran
some older
leader.
guys.
Piece, yeah.
But and you still get that generational forward. I think that's really where the Oilers have gone wrong in the past 4 years, is they've completely ignored the back end of the ice, and I think that's what's really going to set them back. We'll see how good McDavid ends up patching that up, though.
And with them, it's been tough for them to draft a defenseman because where they've picked, they've had offensive talent shoved down their throats.
They've been
basically.
handcuffed.
Like they were never going to pass on these guys because they were so talented.
They should have passed on Yakupov.
The one lottery that
That's
they
interesting.
desperately needed to win was last year's to get Ekblad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That would have been perfect for them.
Yeah.
But seems like the NHL has a sick joke of just giving the Oilers all the best young talented forwards.
That's true.
Yeah.
It does seem like it's a
And they just send
deep,
him to
dark, sick joke.
to like Siberia or
The
whatever.
barren
And-
wasteland of the NHL.
Yeah.
I call Edmonton the barren wasteland of the NHL.
Siberia.
Yeah, like
that year where Yakupov was drafted, Yakupov went first, Alex Galchenyuk went third. Every other top 10 pick that year, 8 of them were defensemen. You had Ryan Murray, Griffin Reinhart, Morgan Riley, Hampus Lindholm, Matthew Dumba, Derek Pouliot, Jacob Trouba, and Slater Kokkonen.
Harry Snaps.
Although
that
might have been the draft to do it.
That might have been the draft to do it.
Even though, but they were at 1. They didn't have to draft him at 1. They could have traded down even to 5 or 6.
The
and they could have still got
I
Morgan
recall
Riley.
too that no one expected all those defensemen to go. I remember guys like Phil Forsberg
And
Grigorenko was
they were
projected to be
higher.
number 2
It's just
right
the teams just
after.
went with the teams just happened to go with
It was-
defensemen.
it was-
But yeah, I still say, I mean, Edmonton should have went with Ryan Murray in 2012. That they should have. Go with get the defenseman.
Yeah, I think the Blue Jackets are doing all right there.
At this point, the only
if Ryan Murray is healthy.
Yeah, the only real good young defensive prospect they have is Darnell Nurse.
Yeah.
And while he looks like a stud, in
ton of
juniors,
pressure on him.
He's got because really he has to turn out.
He's the defensive
If
guy.
You still have 5 spots to fill.
But and that's if he turns out because there's still no guarantee that Nurse is going to become great.
Yeah,
Find that hard to believe.
I feel like Darnell Nurse might end up Tyler Myersing himself.
No.
Wind up having the pressure of being a top defenseman when he might not be capable of that.
Well, he was the top defender in Sault Ste. Marie, and he was very good. He captained the team for nearly 2 years.
And Myers was, while he was a first-round pick, he was a later first-round pick. He was never the hype that Nurse had when Nurse went, 6th, I think?
He went 7th.
7th. He went 1 pick before Rasmus Ristolainen.
Mhm.
So, I mean, they honestly could have even drafted Ristolainen. Which I mean, at that point, would you rather have Ristolainen or Nurse at this point?
I think I'd rather
It's
have
tough to say
Risto.
because Nurse hasn't played in the NHL, but Ristolainen seems like he's more mature at this point and more NHL ready. So it's tough to say in that regard, but but yeah, Edmonton's got a lot of work to do on the back end. Would anyone here rather have Edmonton's roster though right now?
Nope.
No.
No.
It's a Buffalo bias, but
Well, also just the fact that Edmonton, despite all these players and all these top picks, they still have done what
no
with
defense
themselves?
and no goaltending.
Yeah,
So
it's
I'll
not
take.
it's not like
even though
Sabres
Buffalo
have-
It's not like the Sabres have ignored
they
like
have defense.
The Sabres are better off where they are right now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Peter Chiarelli is a great general manager. Really, he is a great general manager. It's just he got one bad deal, and then that was basically it for him. He then went, he got canned, and now he's with Edmonton. You know, Edmonton has those high talented players, except Buffalo doesn't. But the thing is, Buffalo has a better prospect pool than Edmonton has,
as
or
a
has
whole.
had.
Yeah.
And you know, you got, in my opinion, I think that it's tough to say that, you know, which coach is better than the other one, because McClellan was really good in San Jose, and even Bilesman was really good in Pittsburgh. So I think right now Buffalo has a slight advantage over Edmonton, just because of the fact that it's like, you've already got some proven talent there, and you got a prospect pool that's already there. Because Edmonton, they have those top talented kids. They've got Connor McDavid coming, but then after that, you got a defense that's really, really chopped up into a bunch of little pieces. Their bottom 6 forward depth is bad. Their goaltending isn't there, which Buffalo doesn't have goaltending either, but still. And then their prospect pool is kind of just whatever.
All over the place.
Well, at least when you look in Buffalo's goalie prospects, they still have volume in their prospects where you can hope at least one of them is going to turn out because they've got like 5, 6
Strength
guys.
and numbers. Yeah.
Edmonton, when I'm looking at their goalie prospects right now, they've only got 3 guys that they've drafted that have not played in the NHL yet.
And it's not like
they don't have a lot coming up in the future that they can really hope that will become one of those guys. Where Buffalo has, they've got Peterson, they've got Ullmark, they've got Johansson, they've got Makarov, who's still in Rochester.
I don't think Makarov's going to develop in anything NHL-wise.
I think Jordan might disagree with you, but
Let's go.
Explain.
Square up.
Explain. I want to hear this. Explain.
See, I haven't gotten a lot to watch of Makarov, but what I've seen is a lot of
starting out.
No,
hot.
that's not a good start, is it? But from what I've seen, I saw him. I focused on him a lot in the World Juniors when he was there, and I saw a lot of like sprawl out saves, a lot of like not very good form, but a lot of like energy, athleticism. He tugged at the heartstrings a little bit with his resemblance to Hasek. But
he has a certain flash to him.
Yes. I just think that I'm not ready to give up on him. I want to see more of him. That's why I think this is one of the better years to see more of Makarov.
Oh yeah, of course. I know you want to see more of Makarov, but he's definitely got a lot to improve on his game.
Yeah.
Rebound control is
raw.
horrible. There's one thing about Makarov that is probably the best feature about him. His glove hand is phenomenal. His hand-eye coordination with the glove is incredible. The problem is that everywhere else in his game, he's really, really got to work on.
He's a very raw goal.
He's a project,
yes.
And that project has to come into fruition this year, or else it's never going to work out.
I'm also very uncertain with Ullmark. A lot of people are sold on him. I think Lou and Joe are pretty big on Ullmark.
Well, I'm not sold on him.
The main thing that I was concerned about him was the injury. He has surgery on both of his hips, which is critical for goaltenders. I think that's very alarming to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sold on him. Just when I'm looking at the goalie prospects, you're looking at really Cal Peterson. I think is my favorite of the guys that hasn't played yet. But I mean, when you're looking at these guys, he's had the most success at his junior level. Which he hasn't been in junior level. He's been playing with men in Sweden. But just before they've gotten to the NHL and even to the AHL, he's had more success than the others, really. So that's the only reason why I think he would be the guy I would maybe project to be the best of them.
Ullmark has the size.
Yes.
6'4", no doubt about that. He was the Swedish goalie of the year at age 20. Guy that hasn't done, or there has been no guy younger than him that's done that since Tommy Salo, I believe, was the last player to win it that young. This year, Moto was just terrible.
Yeah. Donald Brashear played for them.
Yeah, Donald Brashear was playing for them, and you know that when you have an enforcer like that, your team's not good. I mean, San Jose learned that with John Scott this year. I don't think John Scott's getting another professional contract from any team this year.
John Scott scored 3 goals this year?
He scored 3 goals this year.
He was on like a 10-goal pace or something at one point.
He
had more
but
goals
again,
than
the point
Cody
of
Hodgson.
it is that if you're signing players like a John Scott to be on your team, to be on your fourth line, even like when Paul Bissonnette was available this year, and then like everybody's like, oh, he signed the contract with the Blues. It's just like he's not gonna play there because the Blues are a good depth team. They're not gonna sign Paul Bissonnette to play their fourth line because all he's gonna do is go out there, pick fights, and be nothing. And it's the same with John Scott. John Scott's just an elephant on skates, and it's just like, go beat the crap out of this guy. Okay, I'm on it, coach. No, it's just John Scott, I don't think is going to play in the NHL ever again. If he earns a contract, I would be absolutely surprised.
I was actually, over the weekend, I was watching the 24/7 with San Jose LA's Road to the Stadium series. Every time I saw John Scott, I was laughing just because of how funny he is. So I was thinking, John Scott's career in the NHL likely is done. I don't see him signing anywhere. He should be a comedian. He should just be a comedian. You know what? He would have a lot more success.
I don't know.
And make
What's
a lot
the
more
saying,
money.
Frank? That
He could be a human ladder. I think John Scott should be a human ladder.
Darcy Regeer's quote when he signed him 3 years ago was, "John's size and toughness make him a difficult player to battle against."
You know what? You want to know who also said that? Ron Wilson.
Ron Wilson. They're the same person.
Ron Wilson, not Ralston.
Oh.
Wilson.
Thought you said Wilson.
Doug Wilson. No, Sharks general manager Doug Wilson. Sorry, my apologies. Doug Wilson. Ron
Doug
Wilson
Wilson.
is
And as
the
Joe Thornton used to
ex-Leaf
say,
coach that
Doug
failed.
needs to shut his mouth.
I
Yeah.
mean, maybe Toronto signs him this year. They're going to be embracing the tank.
That would be an option.
That'd be a total
I would
lapse
love
thing.
him playing for
They'll
Oh
re-sign.
my gosh.
They'll re-sign Colton Orr and Fraser McLaren, even though Colton Orr said he was retiring. But they'll give another
do it
contract.
anyway.
They'll sign John Scott. Their fourth
Should we play
line is
Benny
just
Hill? We're
just
talking
all
moves.
like first they'll put him out there for the opening face-off against whoever they're playing against, and all three of those guys will just beat the crap out of whoever they're playing against.
This is a dream. I want them to all play for the Leafs.
Oh God.
Please let them all play for the Leafs.
Ben Bishop's out for the second period, which is just absolutely beyond me.
Out for the he's playing.
Is that
in
what
the
they're
second period.
saying?
Oh boy.
I'm gonna check Twitter.
And Don Cherry's probably going to punch Eichel in the face.
Yeah, 'cause-
Jack Eichel just presented Don Cherry with the USA Hockey golf T-shirt. If you know Don Cherry,
Oh God.
he is
Oh God.
so
Let's just say he's loyal
he's
to
so
Canada.
biased to Canadian hockey over American hockey that
Yeah.
it's too far.
This is great. This is great.
This puts Eichel over McDavid.
Yes, you do, Brayton. Yes, you do.
Anyone still disappointed we lost the lottery?
Nope.
I was for the
No.
first 5 minutes of the loss, and then I started watching up on looking up Eichel. I think that McDavid in the long run, I still think is going to end up being the better player. It was mainly too because he played so close to us, and I mean having him even play at the first Niagara Center, everyone really is just so glued to watching him, and that's really what got everybody into, I guess you could say, the tank. And then it was kind of, I mean, then there's this other guy that obviously is a generational talent in his own right, but I just feel like everyone was just so prepared to have McDavid that it was kind of a bit of a letdown. I mean, just I guess you could say for the average fan until you ended up realizing how good Eichel was. But as of right now, no, I mean, Eichel's going to be a fantastic player.
Eichel came around a little later than McDavid.
Yeah.
At least for me, because I remember the first time I really had heard about McDavid being in this year's draft and being so highly touted was around the beginning of last season. Not this past season, but the one before it. Whereas Eichel I didn't really start to hear about until later in the season, till like right before the draft when Reinhart was picked. So, I mean, McDavid's been in our minds longer, and some people have had him in their minds since he was 14, 15 playing at bantam or minor midget in Toronto.
I knew McDavid was special when he got exceptional status, and CCM signed him to an endorsement deal at age 15. It was like, wow,
they're going
this
in on
kid's good, I guess. It's going to be good. And then, everything just kind of came up. His name was more popularized. Then I saw him for the first time in February of 2014 in person, and I was just blown away, completely blown away. And then at that point, I was just like, yeah, next year it would be worth to lose for McDavid, even though I don't want them to lose for McDavid. But again, the whole thing is just you want one of those players, you got to lose.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
That's when the tank began.
And
thank
yeah,
goodness it's over for us.
yeah, thank God it's over, because I really don't want to play this again.
The tank
The
report.
first, yeah.
I thought I never would have to hear that ever again.
We could play it for the Leafs.
Or the Coyotes.
No, we played that for the
This is
Leafs.
for the Leafs.
We played that for the Leafs.
We need to make this a regular
Always.
segment.
Yeah, this is. I think we
Laugh
have
at the laughs.
Yeah, I think we have established this as a regular segment. But
Yes.
Anyone
laughs.
got a funny Leafs comment? Or stat or fact? I got one. In 2009, the Toronto Maple Leafs forfeited their 4th round pick.
It was
Doesn't say
forfeited.
why.
it doesn't say why.
Wikipedia never clarified that.
All right.
It just said it was forfeited.
Guys, I really have a bad feeling about this 4th round pick. Let's bail.
Here's
Just
one.
bail out.
Maybe
Here's
they
one.
were going to the bathroom. They forgot.
Here's
They were
one.
on the clock.
The Leafs.
Brian Burke, you were
when
on the clock.
When the Leafs built the Air Canada Center, they had they invited all the construction workers in, and the construction workers got to sit in and watch practice. They sat in the lower bowl, and then a Leafs official went down to the lower bowl and yelled at all the construction workers and made them go into the upper decks because they're not allowed to sit in the lower bowl. It was only the workers. They were the only ones there. It's kind of sad. It's not really funny.
You know what else?
Depressing.
You know what?
But
I was expecting that to go to the construction workers then tried to put on jerseys so that they could fix the team.
so they could fix it.
That's where I was expecting that to go, so I guess I had to clean that up. Thank you, Brayton.
Hey guys, why is the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto?
Because the cup won't ever go back there.
It's the only way to get the cup in Toronto.
Ah!
You were pretty close, Derek. Speaking, let's kind of serious on the Leafs. We can make it funny too because they're the Leafs. Who do we think they should draft at 4? Because that's really the first point where you get a lot of debate.
Whoever Arizona doesn't take at 3, so it's probably gonna.
Probably.
Please do that, Toronto.
Lawson Krause.
I think you're going to end up seeing Dylan Strome go there if Arizona ends up going defense and taking Noah Hannafin.
Which could make sense for them.
Yeah.
I still I want to believe it more than I think it's going to happen, but Marner in Arizona just makes so much sense to me that I don't think it's going to happen.
It makes so much sense because you're just reuniting him with Christian Dvorak and Max Domi.
It's that, and I really believe Marner's the 3rd best prospect in the draft. But I don't think a lot of other people share that mentality.
Now, Joe,
I still think it's Noah Hannafin that's the 3rd best, and then Mitch Marner, but...
And Joe, didn't you write something about Dylan Strome?
Yeah, I called him the biggest bust of the draft.
Called him a bust.
Yeah.
I slightly changed...
Whoa.
I originally I said he should go as low as 11, which is not going to happen. I would change that now, where if I had him ranked, I would probably put him probably 6th. So he's I don't think he's going to be a huge bust. I just don't think he's going to be worth that top 5 pick.
I think if the Leafs can
Toronto
snag
drafts him.
Hannafin, that would be very big for
A
them.
lot of people have said about Dylan Strome that he needs to get stronger. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, he's 6'3". He's got the height.
He's got the height, yeah.
He's
He's
just
gotta fill
185. He needs to fill out. He needs to build some muscle.
He's also not he doesn't have blazing speed to me either. And that might be, honestly, because whenever I've watched him, you're comparing him to McDavid's speed.
Yeah.
Like, you watch McDavid go, like, 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then Strome comes out, and he looks like a turtle. But that's because you're comparing him. So, I mean, his skating has never impressed me, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It just might be because it's not as good as McDavid's. But if I were Toronto, I would pick Marner if he's there.
I would probably select Marner as well, but I think Marner's going to fall to Carolina at 5, and then, well, I know it would be yuck, but
then
the
they're
thing
going to
is,
trade Jeff Skinner.
and then they're going to trade Jeff Skinner because they're almost identical of each other. Jeff Skinner and Mitch Marner are almost the same player. So if you're going to keep one, I mean, maybe they keep Jeff Skinner for one more year and then they trade him when Marner's ready to play in the NHL.
Would you be interested in him as a saver?
Skinner? I would take Skinner. Because, I mean,
he would probably cost a
we don't
lot,
have yeah, I probably would, but I mean, we don't have a pretty good skating forward. We need a good skating forward who can score goals like Skinner.
He's kind of similar to Ennis.
He is.
He's very, I mean, yeah, he is. He is very
Except
similar to Ennis.
they're a little bit different because Skinner has a better shot. Ennis is better stick handling.
Yeah.
But even that's only a little different.
I think Skinner would be a good compliment on line 1.
Skinner was a figure skater. He figure skated for years.
that
He
doesn't-
started out figure skating and then put a stick in his hand and started playing hockey.
For some reason, that doesn't make me want him.
I have heard. Oh God, I have heard from a couple of people. I can't remember who said it recently from where I heard it, but
was it Pierre McGuire? Probably
No.
not.
Mike Milbury.
no,
Oh, God.
neither of
Keith
those
Gill.
guys.
I can go
Oh,
on
my
and on.
God.
Anson Carter.
Barry Melrose. Matt Barnaby.
Well, I heard it from somewhere, but they said that they, for their kids playing hockey, they actually started their kids out at 3, just learning how to skate by figure skating, and then 2 years afterwards, they put a stick in their hand and let them play hockey and everything like that. And they said that it was almost like it was a seamless transition from figure skating to hockey, because they were messing around with the sticks when they were in the backyard or something like that. But it makes sense. It at least makes sense
Going
to me.
for skating first, and then, that makes a lot of sense.
And when I'm looking at his stats, he's a minus 64 for his career.
He's in
Jeff
Carolina.
Skinner?
And honestly, I'll be the first one to tell you that plus minus is one of the most flawed stats in hockey.
He had a great
That's
rookie
still
year. He won the
telling.
Calder Trophy in 2010, I think it was.
He reminds me of Myers a little bit, though.
Yeah.
Had an insane rookie year, won the Calder. He's been
So
good
that
since,
means
but he hasn't
he
been
only
great.
needs
He's in
he only needs a
Carolina.
change of scenery then.
He's in Carolina.
Give him a change of scenery.
I
See
think
how
I'd
he
rather
plays.
have Eric Stahl. Is that nuts? I don't want him on this contract though, because he's making like $9 million a year.
It's like saying I want
It
Cam
is
Ward
a
to be my
contract year for
goaltender at
Stahl,
$6
though.
million and him missing a lot of time due to hip injury.
Just to me, Stahl's more consistent, and I think I just like the size more.
Can he stay consistently healthy? No,
I mean, he's played 77 and 79 the last 2 years.
but still.
He's played full. Eric Stahl's healthy.
Eric Stahl's
Eric
been-
Stahl, 77, 79.
I mean, he
40.
plays.
He seems like he's
yeah, but
been
he
more
plays,
injured
but he's been
lately, though.
banged. He's been banged up. Yeah, he can play in those games still, but he's still like a shell of himself.
Okay, I agree with you because he does seem like he's always banged up. Since 2010, though, he's only missed 6 games.
Okay, that's
It's Iron Man. He's
not
a trooper.
expected.
But I agree with you that because I always feel like he's banged up.
You always see him like wincing and.
The only Stahl that hasn't been able to get
Jordan.
hurt is Mark.
Well, even Mark had that eye injury.
Mark had that eye injury, but that's different. Besides that, he has rarely ever been injured.
Do we know about Jared Stahl's injury
Is
fast?
he on the
The Charlotte Checkers.
Charlotte Checkers?
Now, is it
he won't
like
ever make
is like
it.
Checkers the board game or
I don't know what
probably the
animal. What's the
restaurant.
animal that's on their logo?
it's a polar bear? I think.
Is it a polar bear?
Yeah.
I thought it was like
As
a
we
native
all
North
Google
Carolinian.
Charlotte Checkers.
North
Yeah, you're
Carolinian
from North
animal.
Carolina. Yeah, it's a polar bear.
It is polar bear.
I,
I was
guess.
hoping that it was
makes
like
sense.
a
There's
groundhog
polar
or
bears in
something.
North Carolina.
News to me.
According to them, I guess so.
Yeah.
Still got the Leafs music playing, so we have to go back to them.
We hate going back to the Leafs.
I
Oh,
love
it's-
going
I love going back to the Leafs. They're like the Cleveland Browns of the NHL.
Guess what? It's a totally different situation right now because at the end of the first period, it was 19-7 shots favor of Chicago. Oh, there we go. Updated. Chicago's only had 1 shot in 5 minutes of hockey so far.
Tampa is just they get they
There's another
dominate or
shot.
they get dominated. It's interesting.
Yeah. And then the next game, they come back and look just absolutely, untouchable.
Am I like-minded that they're with everyone else that they are the biggest team, the biggest threat to the Sabres in the next 4 or 5 years?
In the conference?
Yeah.
Yes.
In the division.
In the
They're our
division. In the
division.
division, yes.
They're our future rival.
'Cause
Really,
Boston-
they're our future playoff rival. We'll have a lot of playoff
Boston-
series with this team.
Boston is on their way down. It seems like Toronto
Don't forget about
will be
Ottawa,
on their
though.
way up, but they're not. Yeah, Ottawa has a lot of young talent, but they do have a cap problem this year, and they're not gonna be able to sign all their RFAs. It seems like
I also think Florida has a lot of potential.
Florida
too.
is on their way up.
Yager's gonna play forever. Huberdeau is amazing.
Obviously.
I think Ekblad is really good.
If
Ekblad is
honestly,
the truth.
Ekblad, if I could go back right now, I would rather have Ekblad than
Exactly,
Reinhart, if
I
could
would too.
choose.
We didn't have the chance because we lost the lottery.
Yeah.
And at the time, it's like I didn't even want to think of that. I wanted the center.
If you don't
But
mind me-
now Ekblad he just had an amazing rookie season. As a defenseman, you just don't get that often.
If you don't mind me turning this back to the Sabres, sticking on Sam Reinhart, would you maybe ever consider, if you could go back, would you consider taking Sam Bennett with that pick?
No.
Thank you, Brayton.
Even after Bennett's strong performance in the playoffs?
I wouldn't.
I think that Sam Bennett, his performance in the playoffs, it doesn't come down. It has partial to do with Bennett being a great player, but it also comes down to coaching too. Bennett
He
does
fits
have a really
Calgary
good coach.
perfectly.
He does.
Bob Hartley's coaching style it's kind of similar to Ted Nolan, except he actually knows who some of the players in the other teams
He
are.
can work with
And,
good players.
Like, yeah, he can work with good players. I mean, you saw that top line. Hoodler was 7th in the NHL in scoring.
Yeah, he had 70-something
So
points
yeah,
this
the
year.
players played very well, even their top offensive guys. But he always wants the players to be very heart and soul, grinded out, and that's perfect for Sam Bennett because he is that. Plus, he's got the offensive talent. Reinhardt's more, he's not very flashy. He does a lot of little things.
He's intelligent.
Yeah,
Extremely intelligent.
I rewatched the World Junior Championships a few weeks ago.
He was Canada's best player.
Oh my
Arguably.
The things I saw him doing, like even just like little passes off the boards, or he's alone in front of the net, he has a wide open shot, waits, like pauses for a second, waits for the defenseman to come over, then he puts it over to Domi, he's got a wide open net. Like he does all these little plays right that no other player thinks of. It's like some of the things I've seen him do, I've only seen guys like Datsuk do.
Yeah.
And not with stick handling, but just like his mind, he's so smart and he knows.
That's why he was
where
the
to put the
smartest
puck.
player in the draft.
Right. And I mean,
He's-
he played very well with Rochester.
Yeah.
He had a very good year with Kootenay. If you remember, Kootenay started the year very bad when he was
because
with
they
the
didn't
Sabres.
have him.
Right.
they didn't
And then
have
he
him,
went
yeah.
back there and he turned them into a playoff team.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think they went 7 games against Calgary.
Yeah.
they
against
took
the
him to
Hitmen.
7 and lost.
Yeah, so they played very well. He had a great junior season. He did very well with the Americans. The only thing you can point to really is he didn't play that well in the NHL, but I mean, he wasn't NHL ready.
You want to know an interesting fact?
I do.
Sam Reinhart and the Kootenay Ice was the only team against Calgary. That was the only series that was a Game 7 series in the Western Hockey League playoffs.
Wow.
All other series went less than 7 games.
Wow.
Especially the last 2 rounds where in the championship round with Brandon and Kelowna, they went 4 games because Kelowna swept them. I think Brandon took
Swift Current.
Calgary to 5
Calgary, yes,
games.
Calgary.
Yeah.
And then Kelowna swept Portland. No, they didn't sweep them. They took them to 5, though.
6.
6?
Yeah.
Yeah, Good try.
Good try.
I
Yeah.
still like it.
There's a
But
lot
still,
of
the
5-game
fact is
series
that-
in the playoffs in the WHL
He took a
playoffs.
very
Yeah.
good team. He took basically him by himself. Took another really good team.
I was very
to 7
surprised.
games.
I was very surprised when Kelowna swept Brandon. I thought Brandon would have put up a much better fight against
Yeah.
Kelowna.
Yeah.
Kelowna was just really good though. Like,
Kelowna was really
that
good.
addition of Drysdale made them dominant.
The
Nick
Q
Merkley.
playoffs.
Nick Merkley had a great season.
Yes.
Trying to remember who their goalie is, but their goalie played very well.
Whistle.
Yes, Whistle.
Yeah.
Yep.
How could I forget that? Whistle.
Whistle. Yeah. And then the Q playoffs. I never got into the Q playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm never really in the Q.
Q's kind of a joke to me.
It kind of is.
It's
I
like
agree.
the third tier league, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you got the OHL with a lot of flash. Seems like the Western Hockey League is a little bit more balanced, unshown by the playoffs, which is really weird.
I think the Western Hockey League's
But-
more of the ground and pound
Yeah,
style
yeah.
of
Yeah.
hockey. The OHL is like a nice blend of the Q and the Western Hockey League, where it's like, there's a lot of goal scoring, but yet it's very physical there. I mean, you look at Oshawa. Oshawa, who won the entire thing, was the perfect blend of very physical with like Michael McCarron, Hunter Smith,
Hunter Smith's huge.
Josh Brown,
Huge.
Hunter Smith 6'7".
Yeah.
And then goal scoring. They can get goals from Michael Del Cole, Anthony Cirelli, who scored the 2 goals in the championship game against Kelowna, by the way. Cirelli is a 2015 NHL prospect as well.
And Hunter Smith's a second-round pick at Calgary, by the way.
Yeah, Calgary.
You're gonna notice him when he makes the NHL.
Mhm.
He's giant.
It'll still probably be another 2 years, maybe 3 years until he makes it.
Yeah,
but
he's very unpolished.
6'7" though. You don't get.
forgot the point.
I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's a single forward in the NHL in the draft,
draft.
this year. The prospects that are ranked in like the top 100, even 200, that are above 6'6".
Yeah, and yeah, he's kind of a freak of nature. Where, I mean, he's almost like John Scott, except he's actually a player. Basically. Yeah, and I lost respect for the QMJHL when I think I brought this up before, but when Jerome Gauthier-Leduc was lighting up that league, and he as a defenseman, and he was like top 5 in that league in scoring, and he was putting up huge numbers, and it's like, oh look, Sabres got this prospect down in I forgot who he was playing for, Quebec, might have been Verminski, but he was playing for one of the better teams in the league, and he was lighting up the place, and he got to the AHL, and he just couldn't do anything. And even now, he was a 3rd-round pick, but you're looking at him now, and he's basically a lost cause, and no one's really expecting him to make the NHL, and he was like a perennial star in that league.
He was playing with. He started with Ryun Noranda, and then he got traded to Rimouski
Yeah, and he had 74 points as a defenseman in 1 year.
in his final year, which is stellar
Yeah.
for a defenseman.
And I mean, he got to the AHL, and he really didn't do much, and he's probably not going to make the NHL.
Doubt it.
Yeah, so
Doubt he
I
will.
mean, I just don't take a lot of stock in the QMJHL, really.
I don't either. I mean,
You look at the top prospects, they like the elite guys rarely come from there. Crosby, of course, but actually maybe I should take that back.
McKinnon and Druin.
McKinnon and Druin. Yep, there's actually a new guy that was selected by St. John's in the.
Eichel would have played in the Q, by the way.
Yep, he would have played with St. John. For St. John, though, they had a player that they just drafted. 17 years old. Not 17. He's 15 years old. He got the player's exemption. I think he's the first player ever in the QMJHL to get player's exemption. Sidney Crosby didn't even get player's exemption when he was in the Q. The kid's name is, where is he?
Quebec.
Joseph Valeno.
Tank
15
for
years
Valeno.
old. That's still
Too close to
3
Billy
years.
Wayne.
That's 3 drafts away. He's
Way
3
too
drafts
close.
away. Yeah, we've got to wait.
The quest for Matt Yarfrin.
We still got that to go. Austin Matthews, Jesse Puljujarvi, and Jacob Chitrin.
Jacob Chitrin. I can never get that name right. I've been hearing about him. For
The
a
last
long
name
time.
is so finicky.
Yarvin.
Remember, this is the year where they're holding a lottery for the first 3 picks. So even if the Sabres miss the playoffs, they have a better chance of getting in that top 3. And this year, there's 3 guys. Well, they're not generational. They're all very good. I believe Sean Day is also.
Yeah,
draft
Sean Day
eligible
got
this year.
exceptional status by the OHL.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he's draft eligible this year.
No, next year.
2017.
No, 2016. Sorry. Yeah, 2016.
Sean Day, defenseman for Mississauga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steelheads.
Yep. He is 2016 draft eligible.
Yeah.
That's another guy. Look out for him. He'll be drafted in Buffalo. Remember, the NHL draft is in Buffalo next year. So I'm sure we'll get a better attendance than Florida.
I want to ask this because I have my answer here ready to go. Where does everybody think Buffalo's going to draft next year?
I'm going to say
9.
somewhere between.
I want to say top 10.
I'm going to say second because they're going to win the lottery.
I want to say 7th.
I'm going to say somewhere between like 8 and 10.
I'm going to say around 12. I actually think we're going to be close.
I would have said that in reality. I would have said about 11 or 12.
I have it in a 5 range, 7 to 12.
Ooh.
Somewhere in between 7 and 12.
Yeah, that's what I got.
They're not going to be.
They're going to be competitive, though. They're going to be competitive.
They're going to be more competitive, but I mean, they're not going to be anywhere close to a playoff
They're not
team
going to be close
this year.
to a playoff, but I think that they are going to. Obviously, you can't get much worse than the atrocities that we saw in the last 2 years. But
You could also see
I think 9-10's a perfectly fine range for this team.
You could also see a quick turnover, though. I mean, you have seen some young teams surprise the NHL and make the playoffs. I mean, look at Ottawa, the run they went on late in the season this year. Colorado 2 years ago. So it's definitely not out of the question that we got. It's not like our entire roster is just a bunch of prospects. We do have some veteran guys that are proven goal scorers like Tyler Ennis and Evander Kane. It really just all comes down to me is how well these young defensemen develop, and at the same time, who's going to be the goaltender. So I would probably say around. I still think though, we'll probably be around, like Brayton said, 7 to 12.
Well, and as we begin to wrap up here on Neutral Ice on WBNY 91.3 FM WBNY, about just under 9 minutes to go here in the Tampa Bay Chicago game, Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Hopefully we get an overtime finally. I've been waiting for that in this series. Corey Crawford just made an amazing save. That game's on NBCSN.
How is Ben Bishop still playing?
He's a trooper.
Yeah.
He doesn't want the Russian kid coming in because he knows he's going to take his job.
It's garbage.
And he wants to show off that glow-in-the-dark helmet. So just under 9 minutes to go in the Chicago Blackhawks Tampa Bay Lightning game. Let's see. I thought I just saw there was a goal, and I'll take that back. Yeah, there wasn't. Okay, so for Brayton Wilson, for Louis DiBiase, for Jordan Hanskin, for Derek Kramer, for Frank Arcuri, check out our new blog on neutralice.sportsblog.com. Check us out on YouTube, and just check us out on YouTube. We'll be there. And
on the WBNY page.
Yep, and we'll be here next Monday
Also
at 8.
on Twitter at neutraliceWBNY.
Yes, and every Monday night at 8. Best hockey show in Buffalo. You've been listening to Neutral Ice on 91.3 FM WBNY, Buffalo's original since 1982, brought to you by the Buffalo State College Student Activity Fee.